Just warning.
I'll give you a preemption. Both sides.
Is mine trouble?
No.
I call mine here on one side, now I'm gonna
This
call mine
one's
both.
right on your nose, so I hope you trimmed your nose here.
I have to call mine here on both sides.
I thought you were embellishing.
Oh, no, that was just a temporary rust my face.
Oh, yeah.
Did that go? Oh, you're doing
I have, winter's different.
Although my dad just texted me, he said,
cold down there.
yeah,
It's where are you going?
4 months. I mean,
It's real chilly
it's,
for
he's
Florida.
complaining how cold it is, it's like 68 or something.
Yeah, that's freezing. That way you don't sweat when you're playing golf.
I really feel bad for him.
I don't tell the other team they're, what?
No, there's not any, none. Oh, no, he's not in the new place, he's in the other place. They rented that and there's no way they can get out of the rental. Plus they have some updates they wanna do, they have to make
I
this
switched
back
sides on
handicap
yours.
accessible.
I know it. All I'm gonna get is the back of your head tonight.
That big old bun.
Which one are we going by today?
That one's a little faster, so we use that one. I've got about 2 of like that one.
What's your computer say?
658.
I'm ready, Tom, you ready?
Right.
I know.
Well, you don't get to come on for get an hour.
I know. A whole bunch of agenda first.
Thank you.
Aren't you off to Atlanta?
Not this year.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I went to New York.
But not for that.
Yeah, for that.
Oh, they have that?
Oh, yeah, they do. Probably not as grand as Atlanta, but, pretty good.
Good.
Yeah. Atlanta's really, but Atlanta's so frickin' boring.
You mean like a city? It's not a city, it's all spread out all over
Yeah,
the
like,
place.
you go like 20 miles outside, and there's like a gas station and a 40 store.
That's where the thing is?
No, it's in the city. It's just,
I know, it's all spread
sort
out.
of like Dallas too, you know, everybody goes home at night, not like New York.
No, it is kind of spread out.
All southern cities are a little whack, except New Orleans.
Duh.
It's just one of those things too, it's all the time you get.
That's just flooded. No.
You get here early in the morning, you gotta.
You guys were behind us.
No address, late at night.
I'm just gonna stand up and. Yeah, we'll be right there. Oh, good, okay. Because I brought a microphone just in case you were gonna use the podium, that's all.
How are you?
No, we'll be over there.
Okay, Dan's here, we can start. All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order, 7 PM. We have a couple of things we need to do. Dan, if you could bring that sign-in sheet right to me, sir, or Ricky, would give it to Ricky. And we'll see what we have on there, if anything. And we don't have anyone interested in making any comments this evening, so we'll continue to go forward. We have a public hearing this evening as well. And it's a public hearing concerning the repeal of local law number 2 of 2009, adopting local law number 1 of 2015, which is a local law addressing our Board of Ethics. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on that at this time and point, but I would seek a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, do I have a second on that? Mr. Wood, any discussion? All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing will be officially open at 7:02. At this time, I would ask if there's anyone who has any written comments they'd like to submit. And if not, I would also ask if there's anyone who has any comments, questions concerning local law number 1 that they'd like to make. We'll leave
Is
this,
that for the benefit of the, on TV, that we're, local law number 1 is for the ethics?
right, that's what I mentioned, repealing local law number 2 of 2009, which deals with the Board of Ethics. And there's really one item, as long as we're there, which is in Article 3, Section 1. The original local law was written including as a member in the 5-member board, a member of the town who was either a appointed or elected, an official of the town as one of the 5, but could not be, officials could not be a majority. That was actually direction that we had heard in workshops and whatnot. The Board of Ethics has recommended, and this board has accepted their recommendation that, in fact, we would prefer that a employee of the town, an elected official, is not able to be a member of that Board of Ethics. And that is the recommended change. There's another one, as long as we're on this for a second. I don't know if you all have your law with you. There's another item that I think warrants a moment of conversation, and that would be, do you have yours with you, Counselor?
I do.
Article 2, Section D. In Article 2, Section D, it reads the term family member, as it's used throughout the law, shall mean a spouse, mother, father, sister, brother, child, grandchild, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, father-in-law, or mother-in-law. And the concern has surfaced, or was brought to my attention, that given the day and age that we all live, it might be wise to include a step child as well, in reference to a family member that in general is sometimes cited as concern that a family member might be given an appointment. Nepotism, I think, is the word we use. So that was also suggested that we might want to include stepchildren as well. Those are the only changes from the 1992 law. I'd like to leave the hearing open while we continue with our meeting this evening. There's no reason to rush to close it, in case someone does come in a little later and or something else would surface.
Did we want to include stepchild?
Yeah, Bernie, that's not included.
Pardon?
That's not included on this.
That's what I said, and that would be one of the other changes, that we might want to include stepchild.
I thought this was it.
Up to the board.
No. There was talk, but this is, anytime you have a public hearing, people can comment on the change they want to make. They feel that adding a stepchild would be appropriate, we can make the change. It doesn't significantly change the law, so you don't have to do anything. If that's something you want to add in there.
I'm not opposed to adding a stepchild personally, as somebody that has a stepbrother and sister. I mean, I think it certainly uniquely reflects the times to be put in there, so.
What's a family?
Pardon? Brothers, yeah, exactly, and certainly
You know,
stepchildren would
because
be
if
part of
you
the
have
family.
people that are living together, they're a family,
Mhm.
but the child might be of the mother and it's the father that works here. Now, it's not his child and it's not his stepchild. What is it?
Legally, it would not be.
That's right, so is that a family member?
We'll cross that bridge when it comes up.
And
With blended blended families and all that kind of stuff today, you know.
Absolutely, which is why I think it's easy to identify a stepchild. And it would be good to put that in, because that was easy. It may require in the future further clarification. But that would also be something that would be a good project, a question to bring, you know, if it were to surface to the Board of Ethics and ask for them to do an interpretation. We all know there are some people who may not be an official step or blood relative, but they're closer to that family than possible others. Some conversation was started. Meg, do you have any thoughts about including stepchildren as part of the definition of family in that section?
I think that's fine.
Tom?
Well, I wouldn't include anybody, you know, just leave them all out.
Okay. And the change where we're leaving out as ethics board members, any counselors have any concerns with that,
No,
to make that adjustment?
I'm happy that we're removing the counselor. I don't think it was appropriate to begin with, so I'm glad to see that change.
Meg, Tom?
Agreed.
And we can just move forward with that, and as I said, I still want to leave that open in case someone else comes in. But we can go right to item number 2 with all that said. We do have a presentation this evening from North Country Roots. Doug, I'll let you jump up. You can introduce whomever you would like to the group.
Thank you.
And the table is yours to continue. I'll turn sideways so it sort of goes through.
See if we can put that to work.
Doug had come to me a week or two ago and shared the presentation and was interested in bringing this before the board, which is why he's here this evening to update us with his project, and I think he has a lot of good information about the topic outside of his particular business model. Would you like lights to be cut or anything?
I want to get this working first, and then we'll figure out what's brighten up.
Okay.
Marie, would you mind if I came up and just sat there so I could record?
Why don't you try that one?
Thanks.
Yep. Dan, are you okay? I don't want to give one media preference over another.
I just need the recording.
He speaks very loudly, so you won't have to be too close.
I'm sure.
We won't hold that against them.
Well, we're not sure.
That's true.
We might need to use it.
Depends on what he says.
Well, I'm going to talk to the group mostly. People behind me, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Check out the light.
Yeah, you can if you wish. It's, I think it matters
You
that
might-
much.
There you go. I was gonna say, you should be able to just take down a
There we go.
section a lot better.
So we are North Country Roots. We're a company that started for the purpose of competing for a New York State seed-to-sale medical marijuana license. And what we've done is we formed a company, and that company is myself and Eddie Suarez here and Tom Gosser. And so we've come together with the idea of identifying a way to compete for the medical marijuana license in New York. In New York, the law was passed, as many people know, in July of 2014, with an expectation to be able to serve patients by January 1st, 2016. So there's a tremendous amount of preparation and work that needs to be put into the process, and the competitive process of applying for a license under the state grant is onerous, and it is what it is, and we're working toward it. The key thing to think about, though, is that with the passage of this law, medical marijuana is coming to the North Country. It's a question of how it comes to the North Country that matters. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to ensure that medical marijuana comes to the North Country and is managed for the purpose and benefit of the North Country, and to make sure that we focus on patient care in the North Country, and we worry about our neighbors in the North Country. One of the things, if you're not familiar, is that the culture of marijuana and the culture of medical marijuana and recent passage of legalized adult usage recreational marijuana in the past several years, especially in the West, in Colorado, Washington, California, et cetera, has come through a process of, in what we consider sort of a stoner culture. And that is not something that we want here in the North Country. What we'd like to do is we'd like to build this business and this industry in the North Country in a way that's really careful of how we manage it. And the reality is that there's many different out-of-town interests and money and power brokers who are trying to compete for licenses around the state. And we think that they'll, A, focus on high population areas primarily, and we will pick up, no benefit, and our patients won't be properly cared for if we don't get a licensed entity in the North Country. So we think that that's a job for us. As I said before, I'm a business person. I come from a business background, marketing and business management, and this opportunity presents itself very well. My expectation is that the growth in this particular marketplace provides for an opportunity for these businesses to be successful, even in the small local population areas that we have. Tom Gosprick, who's along with us, is a pharmacy background, has a JD, so his area of expertise is in the pharmacy area. And the state law requires that pharmacists be present in our dispensary locations, so Tom brings a lot of success in that area. Eddie is currently a New York State officer, and he will be able to really help us identify areas where we can make sure that we protect our product and the community from diversion of the product plants out of our control through his experience as a law enforcement officer. And his technology background will provide us a tremendous amount of success as well. So we're really working hard to make sure that we identify ways to really care for these patients. And patience is really what it's about. It's not about people going into the marketplace and buying, bags of marijuana that you can imagine or the pictures you've seen on the TV. Even the TV coverage that's recently been about the New York State law is misleading because they show pictures of plants growing in a field and they show pictures of baggies or bottles full of dried marijuana plant. The reality is that this law in New York State is a controlled, restricted, and strict program specifically oriented to provide care for people with significant illnesses. And our goal is to make sure that we provide those products into the marketplace. It's important to note that in the state, there will be no smokable plant. So there won't be any bags of marijuana being sold in our establishments. Instead, what we'll do is we will process the product under controlled, quality assured processes through what's called supercritical CO2 extraction. That process will give us the resins and the THCs and the CBDs that are necessary. Those cannabinoids are the medicine within the plant. We'll extract those and turn those into medical products as we move forward. There are a lot of patient safeguards in place, as you see from this slide. You can read them as well as I can. The reality is that we're really focused on making sure that the patients do receive therapeutic benefit. And there's a lot of stories, anecdotal evidence of this being successful. A great example is my own grandmother. My grandmother passed away after suffering from cancer. And unfortunately, at the time, she wasn't able to receive any kind of therapeutic care with medical marijuana. Instead, she was on cocaine and morphine, and she had really no quality of life for the last good hunk of period of time of her life. And that was a tragic event, and it would have been great if we would have been able to provide some sort of quality of life solution that would have helped her appetite or helped her sleep or just remove some of the pains and aches associated to the severe cancer that she was dying from. And we hope to be able to provide that in the North Country. The state has done a great job of setting up a regulatory process that really controls the community's expectations. The reality is that it could get out of hand. What could happen? There's a whole bunch of things that could happen, but the state has really thought through ways to control the product. We have to identify where the plants are, and we have to understand the process of those plant controls. and make sure that we track the plant through its growth cycle and then through its extraction process and then through its production into a medical product, and make sure that we know exactly where it is at all times. There's a tremendous amount of labeling associated to the product so that patients know and the community knows what those products are and how to use them safely. And so we'll be following all of those state regulations. As a matter of fact, we're actually working in our business plan to exceed the expectations of the state law, to make sure that we really do set a high standard of care. In the town of Plattsburgh, our expectations are that we will be positioning one of our 4 dispensary locations in the town of Plattsburgh. We're currently looking at the possibility of space on Smithfield Boulevard or possibly on Route 3. The exact locations we haven't yet determined exactly, but our goal is to make sure we adhere to one specific state rule, and that is that we must be more than 1,000 feet away from any school, church, or childcare facility on the same street. And so as we choose where our locations for our dispensaries are going to be, we certainly will take that into consideration under the state law.
Is no,
Sure.
none of regular pharmacies going to be able to dispense them?
Yes, the state law says that dispensaries that are medical marijuana dispensaries are specifically only allowed to dispense these products. They can't be dispensed at other locations. A key component of the medical marijuana law that was passed by the state is a excise tax. It is not a sales tax. It is a tax on the earnings of the entity or the registered organization or dispensary location. It's not to be on the receipt, so the patient won't see that 7%. Instead, that comes off the top line of the business and gets paid to the state's medical marijuana trust fund. And the trust fund then doles out those according to these percentages. We have some preliminary estimates of how many patients we think each county in the 16 counties that we consider the North Country to have in the first year, second year, and third year. We're working on those. Those are difficult numbers to estimate because it requires us to identify the total number of patients for each one of the medical conditions that are allowed, and then to estimate how many of those patients are likely to utilize medical marijuana as a therapeutic solution. So as we move forward, that estimate for number of patients that we have and this estimate of excise tax, coupled with a whole bunch of other numbers that we've tried to figure out, is giving us some numbers to look at. And the county will then be receiving through the trust fund these similar numbers to this as we move forward.
I'm just looking at those numbers, say like Clinton County versus, I mean, we're 5 times or 6 times every other county.
Yes, and that's a very good observation. So the way it works is you see there's 22.5% goes to the county where the medical marijuana is produced. And that's for all sales that were produced in that county. Our production facility is currently planned to be in the city of Plattsburgh in the Imperial Industrial Building. That means we'll be in Clinton County. So all sales that our company generates, 7% of that will go to the state and 22.5% of that will go to Clinton County. And then additionally, one of our dispensaries will be in this area.
So the other counties aren't producing?
They will not produce under our business plan, under other business plans possibly, but not under ours.
Somebody applied in Saratoga?
Pardon me?
Somebody applied in Saratoga as well?
I assume that there's a significant amount of competition. Best estimates are there'll be somewhere near 100 applicants for the 5 available licenses. Each licensee will then have permission from the state to open up to 4 dispensary locations. Our goal is to service the low population, high physical space of the North Country. So we'd like to put dispensaries in Watertown, as far south as possibly Utica, as far south as possibly Schenectady, and then in Plattsburgh.
You only have 5, so there can't be anything in Saratoga if you got this.
There wouldn't be any of ours in Saratoga. However, the state's regulations haven't forbidden overlap of geographic regions, so there could be competition in an area. So for instance, in New York City, where there's 8.5 million people, there may be more than one registered organization with more than one dispensary in that marketplace. But the state has said in their preliminary documents that they want to make sure that rural coverage is part of the registered organization's plans. So how that all works out in the regulatory process, I don't know. But our goal is to make sure the state understands that we're focused on the patient in the North Country, and that even though this isn't the most financially lucrative marketplace, the goal isn't always about making the most amount of money. Instead, the goal is to make sure that our business is profitable, but servicing patients under the law.
How much product can a patient receive, at any given time?
Yeah, so patients can receive up to a 30-day supply of the medication.
Okay.
When physicians recommend or certify that a patient is eligible to be a medical marijuana patient, they have the opportunity to limit the quantity that a patient can use. So if they decide, this particular blend of marijuana with this particular THC content, they want the patient to have that no more than twice a day, no more than 3 times a day, they could do that and submit that registration information to the state. And then that would be on that patient's card electronically, recorded. Whenever a dispenser would go into that patient's record, they would see that that's that patient's limitation and be able to dispense up to that amount, a 30-day supply according to those directions.
Thank you. I assume that, if you were to, the insurance is not going to pay for this as a treatment for people with cancer or whatever they have.
That's correct.
So the price range of this, is it within reason for people who are not that well off?
Well, I mean, if you
Is it
compare it to
sliding
the
scale, or how does that work?
The way I've looked at it in the past is, medical marijuana is not, it's not free, it's not inexpensive. The street value of marijuana is fairly significant. Right now, the average price per gram is about $13, $13.50 in western states. It's been higher than that at the beginning of programs like the Connecticut program and the Massachusetts program. A weight-based estimate of sales is really the best way to guess where the estimates are going to be. We think, and what we've seen in research, is that medical marijuana consumers throughout the country have typically spent between $1,100 and $1,600 per year on their purchases.
How is this, when you say a month's supply, is that, how many grams is that?
We don't know, and that's some of the information that we're working through. Every other state that's done this work has really based it on dry flower content. We're gonna be selling it in a completely different way because we're extracting the components out of the plant. So we're really not selling that dried plant to the patients. So a gram is really not how we're going to be selling it. We're gonna be selling it on a milligram basis of THC or a milligram basis of cannabinoid per dose, and then that's what we're gonna have to extrapolate into the dried quantity. It's really an unknown at this point, so we're really just not sure. That's a lot.
And you're able to submit a application with that?
Well, the state will provide some guidance. The goal is that the state will provide guidance under specific areas or medical conditions as to what specific types of solutions would be therapeutic. We also have information and guidance from some of our partners. As we move forward, we don't have experience in the cannabis area, but there are people in the industry who do. And we've contracted some of those consultants to help us and guide us as we move forward to make some of those estimates more official and a little bit cleaner as we move into the marketplace and really solidify our estimates.
When is this supposed to be presented? What's
The
the date?
state application is still unknown. We're currently in the middle of the draft regulatory commentary period. What that means is by the 14th of February, comments are due, at which point the state will set an expected date for when the next round or the final regulations are done, and then they'll set a date for when a preliminary application is done, and then they'll set this date, and then they'll set that date. Everything I'm seeing, however, pushes us in the time frame that licenses will be approved and provided to the 5 finalists probably by the end of June, if everything works according to the state's plan, which we know is pretty likely to happen in this case. Maybe. Yeah.
Some
Nothing's changed.
We're confident that the governor has been given, there's a tremendous amount of pressure from patients who really want the solution. And so that pressure has been pushing the Department of Health to make sure that they stay on course. And I was surprised by how early and how capable and how thorough they were with their draft regulations. Those came out actually on December 16th with an official release date of December 31st. So they're ahead of the ballgame right now, which is pretty impressive relative to what I've seen happen in other states. New York State has been really clean and been doing a very good job of executing a complicated program. One of the other things we talk about often is people ask, you know, is this the same kind of marijuana that the kids will buy on the street? And there's all those, you know, questions like that. And the reality is that our product is medical grade marijuana. We're growing product in highly controlled environments. We are making sure that we have extremely limited contamination from molds, mildews, and other kinds of problems. We have to be tested ourselves, and we also test then through the state's third-party testing facility as well as through the state's own laboratories. So we're pretty confident that we're going to make sure that our quality of product stays extremely high through that testing process. A key question that everyone says, this is a new industry, is it creating jobs? And the answer is absolutely. Depending upon where the state falls and how our numbers and patients fall out and how we're able to estimate our production requirements, we're going to be hiring people to do a tremendous amount of work in our facilities. And our goal has been to make sure that we maintain a high level of professionalism. This is an industry that in the West Coast, you know, you can see sometimes not the highest level of professionalism. We'd like to make sure that this is established with highly professional employees. And we're lucky here in the North Country. Here in Clinton County, we have a lot of quality employees who have unfortunately been leaving positions at Wyeth and other pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities that could easily participate in this business and do a fabulous job for us. So we're excited to be able to see that kind of pool of quality employees as we move forward and begin the work of our business. We do have a goal as a business to make sure that we're utilizing as many local professional services as possible. It's really easy to go to Madison Avenue and find a marketing firm, and it's really easy to go to Albany and find a lawyer, and it's really easy to go to Burlington and find an accountant. But what we've really focused on is making sure that we keep as much of the revenue of this business in the community as possible. So we'll be using mold-right plastics solutions for our packaging. We've already brought on board Bill Owens as our legal consultant. The Shipley Center for Innovation is doing some work for us. We have a patent pending piece of technology that we've developed along with some process that allows us to hopefully convince the state that our solution for edible dosage regulation will allow for the future sale of edible products. And we have hopefully the support of the community bank NA. If you've read much about the industry, banking is a very significant issue, and so far we've been very happy with the approach that we've had with Community Bank and their participation with our business. We are, though, asking for things. We need things in the community. The thing we need in the community is community support. If we want to be able to provide high-quality patient care and we want to do it locally, we need support of the community to the Department of Health. We need them to understand that this community supports a local initiative, not a money guy from New York City or some, crazy guy from Colorado coming in to just set down his business and put his one dispensary in the North Country so that everyone can drive, 14 hours to try to get to the place in the wintertime. Our goal is to hopefully encourage the community that we've taken this really very carefully and we're approaching it very professionally, and that we are a business that needs local support. In addition, we need governmental support. We need the town of Plattsburgh, much like the city of Plattsburgh, to pass a resolution in support of this industry so the state understands that we're putting a business in an area where the infrastructure and the local community and the local ordinances and regulations won't put roadblocks in our ability to service patients under the state law. So we're asking that, and we're also asking for official letters of support from the town of Plattsburgh on letterhead, right to the Department of Health, so that they can see that, that we do have this and it's official, and that support is genuine. So that's really the extent of what we're looking for. Hopefully that I've brought you up to speed a little bit on what it is that we're doing, and I'd be happy to answer questions. Eddie and Tom are here. We've got our whole expert team, so please feel free.
Are any of the major pharmaceutical companies getting into this business?
Not right now. I mean, there could be backdoor money from pharmaceutical businesses being applied. There's two things that I look at when I think of it. One is, there's a very strict tax code rule called the 280E law, which is part of the tax code. And basically it says that if any of the revenue of your business comes from the trafficking of any drugs, Schedule I drugs, then you can no longer write off any of the costs of doing business. Any standard business costs that you would write off. So a Pfizer, for instance, writes off a tremendous amount. They would no longer be able to take those tax advantages, so I can't imagine that they're going to touch this business. That's one thing. But the other thing is also,
It's a pretty big thing.
it's a big, significant thing. And the other issue is also that, in my opinion, medical marijuana has a wide swath of solutions that could very well eat away at the profitability of the other products that they've patented and are selling. So really, more than engaging the industry of medical marijuana, they've been fighting against it.
If someone comes to the dispensary, they can pick it up for someone else?
Yes, there's a provision.
There is a provision in the law that allows for caregivers. A person can designate a caregiver for them. That would be someone who is actually registered with the state. There is a formal process. They would have a card just like an authorized patient does. And each caregiver would be limited to having only 4 patients for whom they can acquire product. So there is a mechanism in the law for someone who can't get to a dispensary on their own to have a caregiver that can pick up product for them.
Doug, I guess I'd like to just provide more of a statement. Some of my colleagues around the table know this, that I lost my stepfather earlier this past year to a horrible brain tumor. And one of the things that I engaged in was lots of conversations with members of hospice and other people. And cancer is just, I mean, I can't even put into words the feelings that something like that takes a family through. But as you engage in conversations with people that are looking for that magical hope of, easing pain and things like that, I'm still not 100% convinced that this is the answer, but I do appreciate a lot of time and energy and the steps that you were going through. And the word that you used was professional, or professionalism. And I do appreciate you thinking about a business plan that really is North Country in nature. I myself continue to do a lot of research from the American Cancer Society. They've kind of seemed to taken a stance that, they're not saying no, but they're not saying yes. So if it, eases pain and it helps people, I'm following this with a lot of interest. And while I certainly won't stand behind one business, I think your message of it's coming to the North Country, whether we're involved or not, is a very solid one. So I appreciate that.
One of my concerns is, indeed, if this goes forward as it would appear it probably will, looking at the revenue side for the county, which impacts all of us, it would really bother me that there may be a producer of the product in Saratoga County, we mentioned that earlier, who has a dispensary up here. I know you mentioned wanting to avoid the issues and problems with individuals who would like to have this as an option in their healthcare plan, having to drive somewhere. It would bother me as well, that someone would be pulling the revenue into another county from the sales that would take place here. So I echo a little bit of what Mike's saying. I certainly, if indeed this is going to be, I think it was to the advantage of Clinton County and everybody in Clinton County, that the revenue would be here as well as having, you know, an option. We've only begun to discuss this at this time and point. The city recently, you may all be aware, passed a resolution encouraging the governor's office to take action to go forward to expedite the process, if you will. And I think that would be the question before us. Would we want to encourage the legislation to go forward? I think there's always a concern when we might be tempted to endorse or support one business over another. We're not in that business. That's bad business for us. But certainly to support a North Country business model, I think would be wise for us to do. And I would ask you to give that some thought. Our schedule's a little unique this month. The next meeting is in 2 weeks. It's another work session. We've had to, we can take action at a work session as well to move this along. But I do have a draft, and if you would like, I'll get that draft out to you. Gives you a couple weeks to look at it, and we could make some, have some discussion about that, make some decisions in 2 weeks. But that's a key for me also. If there's going to be a business, I'd like the business to be here. If the business is going to be here, it'd be nice that it's a local business.
You said that it's where the license is, all the excise tax comes to them, it's not where it's sold. If you have your dispensary in Watertown, they don't benefit anything at all?
No, they do. They do. There's 7% taken right off the top. 22.5% of that 7% goes to the county in which the product is manufactured or processed. And then if it was sold in Watertown, or sold in Schenectady County gets 22.5% of that 7%. In a situation where, under our business model, if medicine is sold in the town of Plattsburgh, then 45% of that 7% would go into the coffers of Clinton County. So, you know, it's
two cuts.
yeah, Clinton County ends up getting 2 cuts of that.
I suspect if the business is housed in the city may be interested in directly getting some of that revenue versus let it be part of the general
I know that the county wouldn't get any money.
distributions. And, you know, if there's a dispensary in the town, we might have a similar interest, but good luck on that.
Are you prohibited from going from dispensary to dispensary? Can you all, anywhere in the state, or are you confined to one?
You mean the
local?
patient themselves?
Right.
Yeah, patients could access any dispensaries. However, every time someone receives a product from a dispensary, that is recorded.
Right.
And it needs to be reported to the state within 24 hours. In all likelihood, it will be instantaneous in our case. So that will be immediately reported to the state. The state will know an hour after someone got something.
Very
Exactly, just like the controlled substance program is in place.
Because you ain't going from place to place.
Right.
I'm curious if you've had an opportunity to speak with the chamber and, what their thoughts are on something like this.
We've joined the chamber as a company.
I'm sure Gary is happy.
We're happy to have joined, and but that's, we're neophyte chamber members. Have not had a chance to speak directly with Gary, but have spoken with Sue Matten, and they're familiar with our business plan and our model going forward. I'd like the opportunity to sit down with Gary and really hash through what it is that he could provide and support that he could provide for our business going forward. It would be nice if he too, like your statement of being agnostic to a particular entity, if he could perform in the same way, that would be great.
Anyone have any other questions, comments?
I'm in support of getting a resolution on the table as soon as we can.
I have a draft, in fact, I fumbled through my notes, I thought I might have had it with me this evening, and as it worked out, I don't, but I will get that out to you tomorrow. We could act on that then, next meeting, we should have Mr. Mannix back, we have a full board.
Well, definitely think we should have it, and we definitely, the advantage to have it here, obviously.
Any other
We'd like to
questions?
have our people employed, and we'll have a number of good people employed.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the security that's
Yeah.
involved.
Eddie, do you want to kind of walk people through that a little bit?
Oh, where do I start? Just to give you an idea of the complexity is, as far as New York State versus, say, Vermont. Vermont's regulation packet is about 50 pages. New York's is 120 pages. A good deal of that is devoted to redundancies and security, minimum staffing for transportation, as far as camera systems, being able to follow plant product from the time it's in the ground all the way to the point that it's in the form of a pill and given to a patient. So we're looking at tracking plant product all the way from seed to sale. We have multi-layered camera systems, so any point inside a production facility where there is plant product or finished product, there will be a camera. There will be, as far as on the dispensary level, multi-layered alarm systems. And they even require a redundancy where we need to bring in a secondary security company to install a backup security system to protect us in case the original security system was somehow compromised by the installer. So, you know, our business model is looking at exceeding what the state has asked. And when the draft regulations came out, I was shocked that they were as thorough as they were. So, you know, Doug was saying, New York State did a bang-up job getting this out. And so it was very thorough. I'm trying to assemble, hopefully, a staff made up of people with great experience in security and law enforcement, mostly probably retirees, but people who are serious people who we can trust to get product from point A to point B.
But rest assured, we'll know if it doesn't.
And well, yes, and if that truck does not arrive at the point it's supposed to, we'll know very soon.
Has local law enforcement expressed any concern to you about the ramifications of that much more product out there on the streets? I mean, your numbers are pretty high times their maximum allowance. That's a lot of stuff on.
Yes,
covered.
but again, if you are pulled over and a police officer finds smokable marijuana in your car, it's not from us, and the police know that. All right, so it's in my very candid discussions with members of law enforcement, they are, and again, these are conversations that have happened after they've had a chance to go through the draft regulations. They see that this is tight. This is really tight from a security standpoint. I've done security in several courthouses, done planned camera systems. This is part of my background. It's pretty tight.
I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about it's in grandpa's medicine chest, and like many of the other pharmaceuticals that are there that become very attractive to those who abuse.
Well,
It's another popular one.
unfortunately, there comes a point where there's only so much that a vendor can do. You know, whether it is in your retail pharmacy and someone has a prescription, a painkiller in their home, what's to say that, you know, someone's nephew doesn't take a pill out of their medicine cabinet? You know, we are following the guidelines as far as packaging, child safety, clear labeling, and Tom can go a lot more in detail as far as the labeling that's required. But, you know, this is sold and controlled like any other prescription medication that is just.
Without the horrific side effects.
Yeah, well,
Oh, that is a good point.
That's
I mean,
true.
the ramifications of someone getting a hold of this medication is completely different than someone getting a hold of grandma's oxycodone, you know.
Yeah.
You won't
Nobody's
see
gonna
people
die.
showing up in the emergency department near death.
Well,
from-
and on the opposite side, you know, we're going back to that in the sense of some people do go to treat marijuana, and that is mixed with a lot of different things too.
Exactly.
So, you know.
There's no quality control over the Mexican cartels that bring illegal marijuana into the state.
Or,
There is no
or the
quality
nephew of some guy, you know, that's doing it in their, you know, back garage. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that people are cutting it with, so that's scary too. If you're trying to do medical marijuana for somebody that is in a situation that really needs the medical treatment, you know, let's have the things in place to make sure that it's.
As far as I'm concerned, the
Above board.
security on this is nothing. I mean, really, it's not a problem at all compared to all the other drugs that
Mhm.
are much more serious and that we're having trouble with in the North Country.
Yeah,
Even if somebody did take, and they're not gonna go for that, they're gonna go for the other.
yeah.
But if we can have this available in place of the other, it has potential to improve the lifestyles of a lot.
Yeah, I
Hopefully
mean, if
legalize
you can have an
marijuana for everybody,
off-ramp
yeah.
to that controlled substance route, you know, if you can have a place where a patient can try this product as opposed to going on to narcotics, then that could add to a huge quality of life for a lot of people that, you know, go down that road. So,
Have the medical community, we have great cancer center here in Monad, have you spoken with them? Are they weighing in on the law in general and the option for
Yeah,
their
we're being
patients?
cautious about how we approach the medical community. There is, we want to make sure that we're not seen as, you know, putting any kind of influence or undue influence on any of the medical people who may at some point be prescribing and making it possible for those patients to purchase. The regulations are a little bit unclear as to exactly the relationship between the medical marijuana dispensary and the doctors. So we're waiting for a little bit of language and clarity from the state as to exactly how and when we can interact and educate the physicians in the area that'll be involved.
I think
the
we've
other-
all seen and experienced somebody in their final stages of life that have had the conventional narcotics prescribed and how awful that is. And, you know, I guess I would like to think the medical community might embrace this as something that would be better for their patients.
yeah, and I think a lot of them might, you know, but I think at this point, we're just trying to really keep arm's length. The
Yeah.
state has said that they will have actually an educational program that they will certify, so we don't wanna get out in front of the state and say, you know, we're gonna be educating the physicians in one way when it might contradict what the state has in
Yeah,
mind.
and I
actually.
agree with you completely, as, you know, within your business, but I'm just a little surprised the medical community hasn't perked up and said, you know, this would be of value to our patients.
Well, just last week, the Surgeon General came out in favor of medical marijuana, which, you know,
Or at
the
least in
country's
favor
top
of what
doctors.
they
So maybe the conversation is starting.
Yeah.
So I take it you don't have your sales reps out yet?
No.
It'd be illegal now.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate the time, your knowledge of what's taking place, the regulation is very good. I know you and I had talked about bringing copies of your slide presentation. Counselors may want to have that to look at.
Yep.
We're gonna do that before we leave.
No, that'll be, it depends on where you got the one. This is an updated version for today. I took out some various information that wasn't really necessary, so an older copy may have a little bit more levels of detail which are somewhat confusing. So they're updated, these are more updated, it has more recent information. We don't have a website yet.
And I guess, going back to the resolution, as I said, I do have a draft that I think is in good shape. Please look that over, give me some feedback, so if you want to take action, I concur with that. We could have it as part of our regular agenda and be done with it.
Have you talked to them about the content of it, or?
Of the resolution?
Yeah.
To them? No, I wouldn't do that. That's not their place.
Well, thank you all very much for your time this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the agenda. We will, I don't know what further you have in the agenda as far as timing, but we're welcome to, we can stick around and answer any questions individually after you close the meeting, so it's totally fine.
Okay, well, we have a executive session later. I don't know how long that will be, but you're welcome to stay.
However, you want to
Welcome
handle
to stay, and everybody knows how to get in touch with you otherwise.
it. Okay, yep.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, everybody.
Pardon me? I can't remember what I said. I know it's, I think.
Machine filled. I've never fought it. I've been doing a lot of stuff, I've been keeping up. I always do.
I did, I didn't hear about that when you did.
Is there any other copies of the presentation left?
Live tweeting, Ted?
The reason I'm here is because you're speaking. And here I am. Seriously.
No, I think everybody, well, I need one for Marty, who's
Maybe
next.
they give you any handout to this?
Oh, yes, and then I did.
Okay, we have a public hearing that is still open. I would ask if there's anyone who would like to make comment concerning the repeal of local law number 2 of 2009 and the new local law number 1 of 2015, which concerns the Board of Ethics. If no one has any comments, then I'm going to look for a motion to close this hearing.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. LaFave, any discussion? All in favor indicate so by saying aye. Opposed?
Are we going to include the stepchild?
Yeah.
And then that was.
Oh, well, I interpreted the conversation as yes, we would
Okay.
include stepchild.
All right.
We're not going to act on that law right now, I don't think, so we've got time to get the final.
Problem
But
step
you would,
Well, I mean, that is such a, I'm gonna make the change, it's such a minor change, if you want to vote on it.
we don't, okay.
Doesn't change, doesn't change the essence of the law.
The public hearing will have closed at 7:54, just so we formalize that. Did the agenda have a draft resolution for the adoption? We do. When we get to that, if everyone wants, then your recommendation, take a vote, and be done with it. So let's progress with the agenda then. Public hearing is closed. Credit card, bill pay. I put this on here, we've talked about that a great deal, and by getting things formally in an agenda, we're more likely to get things formally done. Rick, I had asked you thoughts, comments, where are we? We've had a lot of conversation about that, especially in the area for projects that come in, they want building permits and things,
The only-
company reps.
The only thing, and Jackie just updated her computer and the software thing, and it's the substantial cost to the town to get into it. Any of the basic, if somebody comes in and wants to pay a $7 fee, say a senior citizen, and wants to use a credit card, the minimum charge is $1.95.
Okay,
And then it goes, depending on the credit card that you use and the fee that they have to pay, it goes up, it can go up to almost 5%, 4.8 something percent onto it.
but this isn't anything anyone's required to do, so we're not giving anybody an expense. The one that's come back to me 2-3 times over the last couple of years has been the person getting a building permit. They're spending potentially millions of dollars. They're the corporate representative in here from Iowa, they can
Right,
care less,
I just-
they've got the company.
For instance, the other day, Schluter came in and it was $4,000 and some dollars for a permit. If they put it on a credit card, they would pay $97.30 fee.
But I-
Use that credit card.
Or not do it and don't pay the fee.
Right,
We don't care.
no, they didn't, because they wrote a check anyways.
But I think there's some businesses and some individuals, they're gonna see the sheer convenience of that and do it. just like some of the people that are
Well,
going through Jackie's office as the convenience to
But
pay
when you tell
the
'em-
$1.95.
If you sit in there on a daily basis like I do, and when you tell the person that there's a fee charged on it and what the fee's gonna be, they don't do it. They'll write you a
But
check.
that's their choice.
But that's your choice.
Huh?
That's your choice.
Well, they don't have a choice now, they can only pay by check.
Well, they don't, if he's doing it there, but if you're doing it electronically somewhere else, they don't know that.
Well, the stores like Walmart or Sam's or any of the stores, they have such a volume of things that they're different than what we are as far as charges go.
But again, it's up to them, they don't have to use. the
Right, they
credit
don't
card.
have to.
Right,
But
it
you're
would be
always
nice
making it
to
clear, though,
let
that
them have
Right,
it.
that's what I'm saying. When somebody comes in and they wanna pay, can I pay a $7 fee for a dog license? Sure you can. It's gonna cost you $1.95 on that $7 fee.
Rick, I'll tell you right now, and I'm speaking personally, if I go anywhere, you ain't gonna find usually $1 in my wallet. I use credit card for everything, but I pay my credit card every single month. It's a sheer convenience for me. And just like the kids over at the college, they have a thing called Cardinal Cash.
Right.
Right on their student ID, they swipe it, you know, be it at the taco stand or at some of the restaurants and stuff like that, it's a sheer convenience. Now, I know that if I'm gonna take advantage of that, I may have to pay a little extra. I mean, if people want access to cash, they go to an ATM and they get charged $2 to $5 sometimes. So I think by having the service, that's the element that we wanna encourage. If people wanna use it, great. If they don't, then they don't use it.
I don't wanna encourage it, because the banks that charge the fees are the ones that are corrupting the finance of the United States.
Well,
And you know, paying those fees is just not, especially for a municipal.
but it's a choice you're making.
We don't pay any fees.
And we're not stopping them from using other options though, Tom. You know what I mean? If we were to say, this is the only option now, I think that would be inappropriate. But we're giving them one more option in the portfolio of the services of our town.
Oh, I can say from being in there, and in the last 5 years, you may had a half a dozen people that have asked to pay with a credit card. Other than that, nobody asked.
6 people in 5 years?
Huh?
6 people in 5 years, that's it?
Yep.
I think that's 6 people that we serve. So,
But yeah, I think today more people are using credit cards than they have in the past.
I think you're gonna find less using it at the rate that all the information's getting out.
Well, we can only get down 6. And
Well, it's just-
that's.
It's up to you guys, whether
6
you want
stop,
to
we're
do
done,
it.
we're done.
Then you gotta buy the package and do all of this upgrade to the computer systems to be able to do it.
what's the cost of the upgrade?
I don't know, the TJ just put a new computer system and new software in the Jackies, you can look at your vouchers, it's in there onto it, then he can tell you, I can go get it and you can see it.
I mean, I'd be curious as to what the upgrade cost is.
Have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a service that if people are asking, so.
I spoke to John Van Natten a couple weeks ago, and he said everything's gonna be electronic eventually.
Well, yeah,
Sooner rather than later.
it's just another.
And he's, you know, the
instance
bank president's on the level.
Or the cards.
I mean, people are taking time and energy to invest in the idea of the e-wallet or the i-wallet, where you put everything on your phone. I mean,
Yep.
the electronic age of e-commerce is not going away. You know, I would rather be somewhat of a late adopter to this, rather than never be an adopter. I see it over there, Dan, that's all right, the flip phone. But I bet you still have a credit card though.
Anybody who tries to use it might be in for an unpleasant surprise.
$20.
I'm like, you.
Medical, where all
Everything on the credit card pays the minimum.
Yeah. I mean, I bought a free camera for myself, for my points, because I managed my account. I mean,
Okay,
And we're not
the
gonna be able to
new
function.
account
and then our
banking
stuff goes
system
all out
for
because
Windows
somebody hacks
to
it.
do the credit card in Jackie's was $13.98.
$13.98?
$1,398.
Can't they use the same system in your office?
No, it's different. We don't have the operating system, that's what happened to Jackie. She had to get the Windows 7 Pro with 4 gigabytes or whatever and 3 years warranty onto it. And Brian also got one too.
But that Windows 7 is necessary operating software. That's not to do credit card. Everybody needs Windows 7.
That's why it was done though, to update her accounting, banking, and credit card
Right,
system.
but also all the other operating systems. I mean, Brian's not taking anybody's credit
No,
card.
no, he's not.
He needed the Win 7 to operate his programs.
Right.
That's just an operating system upgrade. In fact, the old system isn't even gonna be supported anymore.
Right.
Those are just going down the tubes, throw
Right.
your machine away. If you don't have Windows 7, your exposure to cyber malware is huge.
Right.
You shouldn't even be operating without it. I mean, that's an upgrade requirement if you're doing nothing different. If you're on the web, you need that software. So, I mean, that's not purpose to enable credit card. It also does that, but it does everything else. If you don't do credit card, you're not gonna operate your system online without Win 7. We've been doing that with all the machines for the last couple of years. When StoryTech came on, I think we had 2 or 3 to go that hadn't been updated. And I remember, through our interviews and things, I mean, that was one of the concerns, cybersecurity, you can't use that old software.
Yeah.
So it's not purposed for
Well,
credit cards.
that was just one of the.
Well, and it's gonna allow for Word documents, we have a wide variety of documents and stuff like that, we wanna make sure that we can still access, I mean, operationally, it's the full suite of things that we need that
So
for.
what you're saying is the actual cost is $13, right?
No.
I mean, we
The-
needed
the
to
software
upgrade,
upgrade.
we needed to upgrade the software to 7, so what's the cost beyond that?
To operate, correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, to accept and use a credit card as payment, there's no cost for us.
Understood, but to set it up, is there any extra cost besides getting this Windows 7?
There appears not to be.
He was just quoting a figure, and I just wanna know if there's any extra, or
Right.
if that's all just Windows 7.
Right, but
Does the bank charge us extra for deposits made by credit card?
There's a service fee in it. It all depends on what kind of credit card you take. Remember when we?
Oh, yeah, that's, American Express being the worst.
That was an eye opener to me. I
But that's a
never
charge
thought
to
of
the
it.
customer, not to
Right.
the
Right.
business.
Yep.
Your accounts simply are credited with the point of sale.
Right, what Jackie did was open up a single account at the bank because the credit card company transfers money into that account. She didn't want them going into a regular account. If somebody stopped payment on the credit card, they can go in and swipe that money out of your account, so you don't want them to do it on a regular account. And it takes 3 business days before the
That's
money,
clear, yeah.
before the money goes into your account. So that's something that Pat, or we have to work out, because we balance out to a 0 every day. Onto it.
Yeah,
Because
We had that discussion at great length with Jackie, and the reality is a check doesn't clear right away either.
Right.
I mean, you've got that limbo period where you've accepted it as payment in full, check, credit card, and it could be cash that's
Well,
bogus bills,
I-
until they clear.
It depends what bank you do onto it. As long as it's a local bank in this regional area, you get your money right instantly.
Well, I do the key bank, and I recently did a check deposit, and they always hold back like $100 until the check's clear.
yeah, they hold it
They
They
against
don't
your account.
credit your whole account.
I go to the bank,
Hold it against your account.
I go to TD Bank tonight and make that deposit. Tomorrow morning, the money's in the account.
But don't try and draw it out.
No, it's there.
It may be
clear.
there, but it may be there, Rick, but I think they're gonna hold that amount against the account.
They don't. It's full credit because when you go onto it, it
Well,
says.
what's the difference if it says 2 days late, what's the trauma?
Even if somebody a week later, you got a bad one, you have to go back and
What do you mean
clean
a
that
bad
account. You had a bad credit card charge, you had a bad check, you had a bogus 20.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, you still have to go back and fix it. The odds of that are slim. If we had 6 people asked to do a credit card deposit in the
But no,
last,
but if a credit card, you never have a bad credit card, do you? Once they take it, don't they?
Don't, they can stop payment on it.
you know,
I just
It could
I
be
just
a
think if you
dispute.
can go through a drive-through
the
at
odds are
McDonald's
near zero.
and order French fries at McDonald's, I can't believe we can't go to the town and use credit card to get permits and dog licenses and a wide variety of other things
Oh, we
here.
can, it's just a choice.
Right, but that's what I'm saying though, is to build that choice for people, you know, I think is an important one.
Well,
So-
the other thing too, if you tried it, and let us say the world didn't come to an end, then you could proceed. If the world comes to an end, then.
We won't have to worry about
We're
it.
not gonna need our credit cards anyways. But if we don't keep up with the world, we're gonna have a problem.
Doesn't make any difference to me, it's just more bookwork, that's all it is.
But that's your job, right?
Well, I know, but one person doing the thing, sometimes you don't get a lot of stuff done. I mean, this is an accounting thing that has to go back too, onto it. So that's something that Pat should be brought in on too.
I think the town clerk's office is an office that should be providing service to the town.
I don't care, it doesn't make any difference to me, I'll take anything. Green stamps, blue stamps, you know, I could care less.
Have they still got green stamps out there?
It's in the
I
course of
gotta
doing
find
business, that,
my
you know,
list.
it just,
I have a little envelope or something.
So it seems that it's been adopted and supported, and as long as it doesn't, you know, put Pat in a tough spot, we can do it.
I'll follow up with Pat tomorrow too, we can meet with Pat. I mean, Jackie's model seems to work, she may have to do something different, but it seems to work. In fact, I don't remember anymore, a few months ago, I asked her what her numbers were, and they've really continued to grow. People are using it.
Yeah, it's right on our website. I mean, it's,
And I hear you, I use, you know, Marriott points all the time for a variety of things, and I still don't do that to pay my taxes, because that extra fee just, to me, isn't worth the points.
Yeah.
But it's a choice, I have the option,
right,
you know, and when there's no extra charge, I swipe and swipe.
yeah, well, that's,
My
I
wife
didn't,
won't pay
I-
cash for a cup of coffee, she swipes, I have points.
and that's another thing too, the fees are higher on a credit card that gives you mileage or points or
Yep.
something. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Onto it.
Oh, nobody's losing money in there.
No, it's just, you know,
But that's part of where they usually don't make it harder for the vendor, because they want you to take a credit card, so they can make all the service fees and everything, which I don't disagree with you, Tom, the banks, you know, are just cleaning up now, like, airlines, et cetera, but
Cleaning up for a long time, they don't give any interest or
Yeah.
anything.
we should be offering the maximum service, and I think that's what Meg's saying, if there's a service, anybody's doing, we should do it, so. We'll meet with Pat, and we'll sort it out, how it works.
So is this the RFPM for ATM service?
No, that's the next, anybody have any other comments on credit card bill? I think, the desire is to go forward, Rick, you said you can do whatever, so we'll get her done. I'd asked Rick to give some feedback, I asked him the other day again about, the ATM item, and we just need to put that to bed, and, I believe you said you contacted some vendors even, and,
there was 5 vendors that received the RFP. Nobody responded, and I called and talked to Brian Rabideau, actually I saw him, and he said that there was not enough wiggle room in it where it was advantageous for him to do it, the amount of money that would be taken in for him.
it's not a good business model.
It's not fair.
The volume would be very, very low, and I think it's like credit card, you say if 5 people wanna use it, then we should have the option, which is fine. But the business model doesn't make enough money to bother tying up a machine and the accountability and the monitoring of it. I was quite surprised, I don't know if any of you read through the RFP, but there's a lot of accountability that goes with that, and responsibility. You don't just drop it off and forget about it until somebody calls and says you're out of money.
Yeah.
So we don't have, I mean, it dies a natural death, but there's nothing more we can do.
Well, it kind of goes with the previous thing we were just talking about. If we can't offer an ATM, we can offer the use of your ATM card as a credit card.
Yep.
Right.
For your service. So,
That would be the backup plan. I mean, really the stressor to put an ATM in was because I can't use my card, I don't have a checkbook,
right.
so I gotta get cash, and I gotta run to the bank or I'll get it here. So if you take card, yeah, it eliminates a great part of that need.
And there was worry about, individuals paying a fee to use the credit, the credit card. Well, they were gonna be assessed a fee to get cash out of the ATM.
So that's the story on that. I don't have a number 5, running right through, draft resolutions. We have one on.
Are we doing the regular resolutions first, 49 and 50?
Yes, we always, I don't know why, we should have resolutions and draft resolutions. I'm in the draft resolutions section of the minutes, which we actually have 2 that are numbered. One to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, resolution number 1549. Rick,
I'll
you have
move
that
that.
one? Well, let's look at it read first.
Okay, resolve the minutes of February 3rd, 2015 be approved and reading of the minutes be dispensed with. I move that. Anyway.
Go ahead, Rick.
49, you said?
Yeah. It looks like the one to your right.
This one?
Is that a 49?
Yep. Approve the meeting, resolve that the minutes of February 3rd, 2015 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Okay, I have a motion. Mr. Wood, second. Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Hank Lefebvre?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, that's carried. The next one is number 50, abstract 2B-15.
Excuse me.
I guess I have it too.
I got it here.
I just don't want to take Ricky's job away from him, you know?
Resolve that the abstract of audited claims number 2B-15, 125 to 175 for $136,077.05. Abstract 2B-15, 2586 to 2589 for $8,548.21. And abstract 5B-15, 35 to 41 prepays in the amount of $3,297,941.14 be received as reviewed by the audit committee. The supervisor is hereby authorized to pay such.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Ms. LaFave, any discussion? Roll call.
Yes.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Michael LeFave?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, resolution carries. Next, we have the department reports. I gave you one before we came out that was missing. I don't know if we've got all of them, but that's what we have so far. And we will use some of the suggestions to revise again the resolution for that. We have,
We're gonna change it from the last one?
was the discussion, yeah?
Slightly.
I thought it was good the last one.
That's not what I heard. The next is a draft for the adoption of local law number 1. Counselor has indicated the discussion during the public hearing, and those suggestions are not sufficient to warrant laying it down again, having another public hearing if you want. We can act on this and be done with it, or you can let it sit, but it would sit. The next regular meeting will be the first one in March. Makes no difference to me. I would
See any reason why we
vote to
should?
do it and be done with it.
Where is this facility?
This one here.
Where's what facility?
Is it, oh, we're not, I'm sorry. Okay.
She lost her head.
Yeah, I was ahead of you.
This would end up being resolution number 51. Adoption of local law number 1 of 2015, a local law repealing Town of Plattsburgh local law number 2 of the year 2009, a local law relating to a code of ethics and a board of ethics for the Town of Plattsburgh, and enacting a local law establishing a code of ethics and a board of ethics for the town of Plattsburgh.
Whereas resolution 15-42 was duly adopted by the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to set a public hearing that was held at the Town of Plattsburgh Town Hall, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, on February 9th, 2015 at 7:05 PM, to hear all interested parties on the proposed local law enacted, a local law repealing Town of Plattsburgh Local Law Number 2 of 2009, a local law relating to the Code of Ethics and Board of Ethics in the Town of Plattsburgh, and enacting a local law establishing a Code of Ethics and the Board of Ethics in the Town of Plattsburgh. Whereas notice of said public hearing was duly advertised in the Plattsburgh Press-Republican, official newspaper of the town, posted on the bulletin board maintained by the town clerk pursuant to Town Law 30, Section 6, and posted on the Town of Plattsburgh website for a period not less than 5 days prior to the public hearing. Whereas the town board, after due deliberations, finds it is in the best interest of the town to adapt said local law. Now therefore it be resolved, the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board does hereby adopt said local law number 1 of 2015 entitled Local Law Repealing Town of Plattsburgh Local Law Number 2 of the year of 2009, a local law regarding a Code of Ethics and a Board of Ethics of the Town of Plattsburgh, and enacting a local law establishing a Code of Ethics and a Board of Ethics for the Town of Plattsburgh, a copy of which and attached hereto and made part thereof, and the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to enter into the local law, the minutes of this meeting, and to enter into the local law of the Town of Plattsburgh local law book, and give notice of the adoption of local law to the Secretary of State. And it is further resolved that this local law shall take effect immediately upon filing in the office of the Secretary of State.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second. Ms. LaFave, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Frank LaFave?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, resolution carries. Next, you have a draft, and I feel bad, well, I guess I still don't know, I'm hearing it was in your packet that Debbie emailed, but it wasn't in mine this afternoon. The town of Saranac is working to seek some funding, working with Behavioral Health Services North in Clinton County to repurpose one of the buildings in Schuyler Falls out by Macomb. Was a youth center for a detox unit. They're putting together their project now, and they would really appreciate if we're going to support that, if we could pass this to do so.
When would they be putting it together? I mean, when would they need this?
We won't meet again for 2 weeks, so it would be to their advantage to get it sooner. What I'd like to do is number this one 52 and at least put it on the table so you can hear it. It's pretty benign. It's simply a support for a center that is, I think, needed.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So let's at least get it on there then. If you're in agreement, we can move on it. I'll get it right off the Saranac with a nice cover letter. You want us to wait for you, Tom?
No, read it. It's gonna take, I have time to go out for a cup of coffee and, you know, a few other things, come back.
It's town of Saranac, though, it's doing this, as opposed to Schuyler Falls. And I don't know the geography there to know where their municipal lines are. It was Joe Girardi, supervisor, that contacted me. So we have resolution number 52, a resolution in support of Champlain Valley Family Center.
Whereas there are no ambulatory detoxes in Clinton County, and the closest inpatient detox is located in the Canton Potsdam Hospital, which is a 2-hour drive, and only has 7 beds, and is nearly impossible to secure one for the beds on a timely basis for clients needing detox services. Whereas Champlain Valley Family Center would like to develop a clinic in the old office of the Children and Family Services building on the Schuyler Falls campus. Whereas there are 3 buildings on the proposed Schuyler Falls site, and one of these buildings could house the ambulatory detox and short-term crisis stabilization unit, and others could house a satellite outpatient chemical dependency clinic. Whereas another building at this location could be utilized for a short-term recept for intensive crisis stabilization and would be managed by the Behavioral Health Services North, which could provide an opportunity for collaboration between the mental health and substance abuse system. Whereas the development and opening of an ambulatory detox center with respite and civic stabilization unit will directly impact potentially preventative emergency room visits that could reduce inpatient admission. A concern that is supported by the data from the local community needs assessment summary that identified emergency utilization for drug abuse related diagnostic ranks 5th out of the top 10 primary drivers preventable ED utilization in Clinton County. And whereas there is a high number of chemical dependency individuals in Clinton County who are uninsured, and the proposed project, in addition to providing needed services, would work closely with the Clinton County Department of Social Service and Medicaid managed care companies to assist the population to enroll in health care coverage and engage with a primary health care provider. Whereas the project would strengthen the mental health and substance abuse infrastructure in Clinton County. Whereas currently ambulatory detox is not a consortium of services in the North Country and will be attached to an ambulatory detox with a crisis stabilization unit, needed resources to serve those in mild and moderate withdrawal in a high quality, cost efficient manner would be established. Whereas the funding for this project would reduce the number of emergency departments visits that are related to mental health and substance abuse. Whereas where in Clinton County there is an often heroin epidemic resulting in high percentage 5th out of the top 10 of ED visits and subsequent hospitalizations. And whereas the current estimated Medicare recipients in Clinton County with chemical dependency diagnostic is more than 1,400 individuals. Be it therefore resolved that the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board fully supports Champlain Valley Family Center's proposal for the use of Schuyler Falls site to render services that are needed and would ultimately provide regional resources in a manner that would be more efficient and less costly than is currently provided to address the growing need.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Ms. LaFave, any discussion? As we're reading through this, and if the site is where I think, that is Schuyler Falls, I don't know.
It's right next to the old rifle range for Macomb Park.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know what the link is with Cernak, it makes no sense, but I don't have the clarity of that, but.
What's that road?
Northville Road.
Peasley, well,
Okay,
north,
Northville.
yeah, then goes into Peasleyville.
Right.
Yeah, that's Schuyler, town of Schuyler Falls, so I don't know, you know, what, maybe Joe just,
Is Joe getting mixed up, do you think?
I don't know, but to me it's irrelevant, because it's a,
Good idea.
it's a good idea, it's a good project, and it's needed, the good use of that facility.
Yeah.
So we can support either way, but I will find out from Joe, because, my head was not there, and I'll let everyone know. Any other discussion?
I'm just curious, you may not know this, but they make reference of the number of beds that are, you know, up in the Canton Potsdam Hospital. Do you know how many beds this facility was anticipated to have?
I don't.
Okay.
I was quite surprised though at the limited number of beds and
Yeah.
how far away it is, my gosh.
And when Ricky, you open this resolution, it says there are no ambulatory detoxes in Clinton County. My resolution says North Country, so which one is it?
Which,
Because there's one specific and one is not.
Oh.
which whereas,
The very
The first one. Detox isn't, it says in the North Country.
Okay.
any other discussion?
I thought there was approximately 20 youth at that detention center, but I might be wrong.
Yeah,
It was a while ago.
Yeah, and I don't know what this project funds either, I know
Yeah.
they're seeking funding.
What exactly is the town of Plattsburgh's reason for supporting this?
To help it get funding, I mean, whenever we do grant funding, you get a variety of letters of support from neighboring municipalities, political leaders, agencies, so it shows a network of support that would utilize it, et cetera.
I think these services would transcend the borders of our town too.
Me too.
Oh, Oh, yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
but I think that to me is the rationale of why our, our board is, endorsing,
Okay.
this is, people from all around the North Country.
It's a regional advantage, including us,
Yep.
absolutely. Any other discussion?
The trout response day.
Okay, roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Michael Cashman?
Yes.
Meg LePave?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, resolution carries. That takes me down to executive session. And Tom, you often ask me about executive session, so we're gonna be in glory tonight. I got two. I would seek, yes, sir,
Are there two items or just one?
two items.
And one, I think one said something litigation, proposed litigation?
Yes, let me read these. I would seek a motion to go into executive session to discuss, one, the employment history of a particular person leading to dismissal or removal, and number two, proposed litigation.
No, but it's a proposed litigation related to the.
No, it's a separate item. They're
What
two
is the
items.
proposed litigation?
it's the same.
Yeah, comma right there.
Proposed litigation with another municipality. I can't really be more specific than that. Prefer not to.
Would we also be discussing the other thing?
If you're implying negotiations, we can't do that in executive session because it's not a
You heard it,
unit.
you were there.
Well, I can't vote for anything I don't know about, so.
Okay, to clarify, I'm seeking motion for two reasons. One, to discuss the employment history of a particular person leading to dismissal or removal. And number two, proposed litigation with another municipality. Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman. Roll call, all in favor indicate so by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We will go into executive session at 9:29.
And it should be pointed out, there's only one resolution left to vote on next time. That's the,
A lot can happen between now
we
and
got
then.
all of them.
It's 8:29.
What did I say, 9:29? Yes,
God,
I
was
did,
like, that was the long
8:29.
He's all over the place.
Shorty
It's all over.
He's in the weeds.
You thought it was what?
But when he makes it, when we go in the
Let me
weeds.
tell you, have you ever talked to anybody who's used medical marijuana or whose family has used it?
I have talked to a couple of people,
And,
positive for the most part.
because I know somebody who did and it was a godsend.
Yeah, so,
Who had cancer, like, it wasn't brain, it was colorectal.
and that's why, I'm very honest, it's like my stepfather had passed, and I don't think it would have been the thing that he needed, I don't think you you know what I mean, I don't think you
And that would be
advocate,
for the doctor
but
or to say.
engaged in some really thoughtful conversation with some hospice nurses and, other people, and it was very
Actually,
informative.
You watch what morphine, and all it
Yeah.
is just morph. Just open that baby up and you're waiting for the body to go.
So,
It's-
Well, if
it's
you
awful.
look at health directives, end of life directives, it says, do you want to have,
Yeah.
medicine even if it hastens your life? And everybody puts yes, of course.
I'm surprised the medical community hasn't been more proactive.
Well, it's not legal here, but in Vermont,
It's coming.
they say, they want you to go and get medical
Vermont's on its way.
marijuana.
Colorado,
So,
Colorado, here they come. Shut it down. We're not gonna do any business and I can't let you for this. Okay.